Ladies and gentlemen, you could look at the Igor Danchenko indictment. You could just type in DOJ indictment, Danchenko, or Sussman, or Kleinsmith. Those are the three indictments for the Durham Probe Special Counsel. I've actually been looking at them with some pretty awesome, high-profile, amazing attorneys. And I can tell you something that they've told me. Well, I could tell you the following. The indictment of Danchenko talks about secret recordings that took place by the Bureau, by the wonderful and very honest FBI agents, without his knowledge. The correspondence between, for example, Sussman and Baker, or Sussman, the indicted Clinton-linked attorney, whether it's text messages, recordings, emails, same with Danchenko, same with Kleinsmith. Any emails, recordings, text messages, any type of meetings, any type of communication that they had with journalists, with government agents, with Bureau or Central Intelligence Agency officials, that's all going to be used because there's like tens of thousands, well over 100,000 pages of documents just for the Sussman indictment. Durham is going to be using all of these indictments to make people flip and sing. That's what they said about Trump. Papadopoulos was supposed to flip and sing. All of these people were... Papadopoulos was set up. Flynn was set up. Stone made his own bed in a way, but they tried to set him up. Also, they set up all of these people for lying. Their lies had nothing to do with protecting Trump or Trump working with the Kremlin, which never happened. These were process crimes. Oh, you lied about deleting your Facebook account or an email that you sent or when you sent an email. The indictments from the Durham probe are actually indictments that show that Clinton, the DNC, mainly Trump's direct political rival and Madam Secretary, paid people. She actually paid people. Those people then, for example, there are left-leaning journalists that their correspondence with Bureau agents. So you can ask any attorney the correspondence of journalists with FBI officials or officials at the Central Intelligence Agency or wherever the agency was or is. If the correspondence has anything to do with setting up and framing Trump, and it's not a legitimate news, even if it was a legitimate journalistic endeavor, if it was about spreading lies and trying to foment, whether it's an Alpha Bank story or a Steele dossier story, anything that was fomented or fabricated or promulgated or disseminated or spread through media or through the intelligence services or through government, that is a possible indictment. People at least broke 18 U.S. Code 371. They knew what was being spread about Trump was a fabricated lie. It's within the indictment of Sussman. We need information on VIPs, just like Reddit stoned here. The VIP was Clinton, the DNC, people who paid them. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'll have my usual segment in the evening. I have a segment every day now on the possible end of the planet through nuclear annihilation or an economic depression. I don't think that's going to happen, but we're closer to that unfortunate reality because mashed potato brains, our president, is presiding over, like the sky was falling under Trump because media didn't like record low unemployment. Media didn't like a great foreign policy. Media perpetuated the myth through the help of journalists and through the help of people paid by Clinton. That's why the Durham probe exists. A nonsensical, irrational, counterproductive, like the antithesis of democracy is spreading the false, fabricated myth hoax that Trump was installed by the Kremlin, or that the Kremlin wanted Trump because he had a different foreign policy than President Obama. President Obama had a different foreign policy than Bush. Using that logic, Bush should have investigated the incoming Democratic administration in 2008 under the premise that, they wanted a Russian reset, and that helps the interests of the Kremlin. Then you have all this, now we can go on forever, we have all this nonsense, well, Ukraine is battling for democracy. God bless the people of Ukraine. God bless President Zelensky. God bless the men and women who are now being displaced, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, thousands of people losing their lives. For what purpose? According to The Atlantic and all these wonderful liberal ideologues, beautiful people, it's to defend democracy. Democracy is a system of government that we still don't really have a grasp and handle of. They cheated Bernie Sanders, literally cheated their own candidate. And the DNC emails, they say, those were hacked by Russia to inform everyone that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Then they set up and framed an incoming candidate through clandestine organizations or agencies that utilized media and operatives paid by Trump's direct political rival. That's what the Durham probe is finding out. And that you have PolitiFact saying, well, there's no evidence that Clinton directed anything. She paid Sussman. Why would she have paid Sussman? And why would all these tech people work for one cause, to obtain as much information as possible on Trump? The reason is to set him up and frame him. This is not rocket science. So this is an important segment because every communication, every correspondence, every email, every text message, every paper written, and they all didn't think they'd get caught. They all thought, hey, this is all above board. But the reality is, each little step was, yes, legal. 18 U.S. Code 371, what I write about in the Federalist. You can go to my author page. Comey and McCabe can easily be charged under 18 U.S. Code 371. I also predict the stock market crash, which we're seeing. The market went up today. Who cares? The whole thing is going to unfortunately tank. And we'll talk about that later tonight. But hit subscribe to this channel. If you look at the Danchenko indictment, it talks about secret recordings. That's not the only thing that's going to be used against them. Emails, text messages. I mean, Peter Strzok's text messages will stop Trump. That could be used by Durham. And that will be ultimately used. The Durham probe special counsel is going to have government officials pitted against people Clinton paid, the tech companies that Democrats paid to implement their myth. There was not one shred of evidence that Trump was installed by the Kremlin. Pointing to an intelligence assessment is not evidence. Okay? They've been wrong about everything from WMD to Facebook ads to the Gulf of Tonkin decades back. We can look. They're not right about anything. And maybe they're right about some things, but about grandiose political topics, moments in U.S. history, they haven't been right. They didn't predict the fall of the Berlin Wall. They're not going to predict the upcoming stock market crash and economic collapse, which I've been telling people about, which we'll talk about tonight. Don't watch tonight. Do not watch this channel at around 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m. tonight. Because we're going to talk about the possible end of the planet in terms of a nuclear confrontation that I predicted with Russia. And people say, well, don't speak it into existence. Believe me, I've been told many a time that my words are meaningless and I'm an idiot. So I don't think me talking about the reality of what could possibly take place is going to speak anything into existence. I don't believe in that stuff. We have completely incompetent leadership. The leaders of the free world. The most powerful man on the planet is mashed potato brains. Okay? Think about that for a second. Record highs in gas prices. Oil prices through the roof. It went down today, but it was still, over $112 to $120. Stock market about to collapse. Energy prices through the roof. Zero economic growth. We're heading into a recession. The leap from a recession to a depression, unfortunately, is not that grandiose of a leap. And everyone is so giddy and happy they're sanctioning Russia. It's like, well, you do realize that it's only going to expedite an economic collapse here. But they don't realize that. They're just patting themselves on the back and they're getting the social media praise, just like they did for other topics, which they were wrong about. They ended the U.S. economic system. These are the same people who've been wrong about everything, from Libya to Iraq, Afghanistan, everything. When the media champions anything, it turns to fertilizer that's now 200% more expensive, or 400% now. Russia might ban fertilizer exports. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Be here in about 4 hours, 5 hours for a somewhat depressing, series that I have, but it's very interesting. Give me your thoughts. Thank you. Do not watch this channel in a couple of hours if you're about to go to sleep.